Murder in Walsingham, you say? Yes, it happened just a little over 100 years ago. Have a listen and I'll tell you about it. This is the Ballad of Shoup and Emerson Shelley. Mr. Shoup was shot down in his cornfield, boys. I came just as soon as I heard they're hunting for Emerson Shelley, boys. He left them like food for the birds, food for the birds. Left him like food for the birds. Shoup was an honest miller, worked on his Walsingham farm. It was well known he kept money at home and would never do anyone harm. Emerson Shelley was a boastful lad, carried a .32 gun. Said he'd use it that day to steal money away, then off to Detroit he'd run. Off to Detroit he'd run. Mr. Shoup was shot down in his cornfield, boys. I came just as soon as I heard they're hunting for Emerson Shelley, boys. Left them like food for the birds, food for the birds. Left him like food for the birds. Shelley looked to a few friends for help. They weren't willing to rob a mail driver, hog buyer, or poor Mr. Shoup when Shelley said I'd kill a man as soon as a dog. Mr. Shoup was clearing roots from his field when he stared into a .32 gun. He didn't back down but charged at the boy and died with a bullet in his lung. Died with a bullet in his lung. Mr. Shoup was shot down in his cornfield, boys. I came just as soon as I heard they're hunting for Emerson Shelley, boys. He left them like food for the birds, food for the birds. Left them like food for the birds. Shelley was found up in Woodstock, bragging to men in the street. Didn't try to run, just turned in his gun, said that's it boys, I'm beat. Didn't take long to convict him, an hour or 20 or so. Jurors all said he's better off dead, so it's off to the gallows he'll go. Off to the gallows he'll go. Mr. Shoup was shot down in his cornfield, boys. I came just as soon as I heard they're hanging young Emerson Shelley, boys. They'll leave him just food for the birds. They're hanging Emerson Shelley today. The buzzards will likely drag him away. The Ballad of Shoup and Emerson Shelley. And as an added bonus, here's a picture I took in the Jericho graveyard. This is the Shoup family stone, and this is the Shelley family stone. The murdered and the murderer within spitting distance of each other for eternity. Isn't that something? My name is David Wells, and this has been a tiny bit of history from a small corner of Norfolk County, Ontario. Thanks for joining me.